Yo, what's going on, guys? This is Mustache MMA, and welcome to the breakdown, episode 8, UFC Fight Night, Santos versus Ankalaev. A couple good fights on this card, so yeah, excited to get into this and start breaking down some of these fights and picking some of these fighters. Going forward, it's important to note none of these picks or selections are based on odds. If you're looking for anything sort of like bets or parlays, I have two videos that come out later in the week that deal with bets, overall straight bets, and then also a video that goes over some parlays that I'm going to play in action for the card. But the breakdown, we're just going to pick overall who we think is going to win, not based on odds. So yeah, before we get into Santos versus Ankalaev, I'm going to show my results from last week. The breakdown results were not great, as you can tell here, but I'll go into best bets results and parlay plays results briefly, just to show you that those actually did well. So, although we didn't do good here, we went 6 and 7. So a losing record on this card for sure. Dustin Jacoby, Ludovic Klein, Tim Elliott all won. We had the other opponents. Umar Nurmagomedov was the first win on our selections. Morozov and Negrumanu won. We had their opponents. Marina Rodriguez won by split decision. Very, very close split decision, but got the win. And then Jalen Turner, Sergey Spivak also won. We had their opponents, and then we swept the rest of the main card in getting Kevin Holland, Bryce Mitchell, RDA, and Colby Covington all correct. So yeah, that brings the total 2022 results to 54 of 84, which is 64%. Still a pretty good percentage. And then as you can see there, I still have the Feb results up, which was really good, hitting 74% of the picks. But I didn't put March results up there because we only have the one card in March so far. So not really a point in throwing those up there. And then I did just want to briefly show that I actually did do good on the card in terms of the betting perspective. So overall, we went up 8.06 units, 6.4 units in the best bets, and 1.66 units in the parlay plays. So just wanted to touch on that because it was a successful card. Just the breakdown overall picks were not as accurate. So yeah, now let's go ahead and get into it. UFC Fight Night, Santos versus Ankalaev. Starts at 4 p.m. a little earlier today, so or a little earlier on Saturday, so should end not too late, which is nice. And let's get into it. So first fight on the card is definitely a fun one and one I had my eye on for sure. Tafon Nchukwi versus Azamat Murzakanov. Azamat Murzakanov, really good movement on the feet. He's coming off of the Contender Series, so this is his first official fight in the UFC, and it's a pretty tough one to be honest against Tafon. Although he's not very experienced in MMA so far, only having 7 fights, he's been pretty successful in going 6-1 and somewhat impressive in his career so far. So, but Azamat, man, really good movement on the feet for light heavyweight. Bouncing back and forth. He's a little bit shorter, and his reach isn't necessarily the longest for light heavyweight. As you can see, Tafon Nchukwi is going to have a 6-inch reach advantage, but I don't think it's going to be a problem. Murzakanov actually closes distance very good. He's got very good power. He also has a very good striking defense. He has also wrestling and grappling background a little bit. It's a little bit unknown because I haven't been able to find much tape on it. But I heard through the grapevines that there was video of him kind of tossing around on Jan Kutilaba, who's a middleweight, and just kind of tossing him around with ease. And, Kutilaba actually has pretty good wrestling. So if he's able to toss him around, that's pretty good. He probably has pretty good wrestling at that point. Also really patient, too. He doesn't necessarily just jump in and blitz in and go for the kill. He's very calculated with his strikes when he closes the distance, and when he does get you hurt, he will leap on you. But he's not rushing in to force that. Moving on to Nchukwi, pretty high volume that he throws, and he's a super huge guy, as you can tell even in this photo here. Really strong, decent power. He was coming up. He was like I guess they were promoting his power, but I don't think he's even gotten a finish in the UFC yet out of his three fights. So, the power hasn't really translated yet to the UFC. Decent speed as well, decent wrestling, sure. Not really much grappling though. So he does have that wrestling, but he doesn't show any really grappling capabilities. When he does get you down in the wrestling, gets you in a favorable position, he's pretty good top control though. He's really hard to get off you because he's just a heavy guy. Technicality and striking wise is also decent, so I really just round him out overall. He's all decent and has no grappling. So official pick here going to be Azamat Murzakanov. I actually threw if you guys follow me on Twitter, mustache_MMA. I throw a lot of early bets on my Twitter to try and beat the lines. And so far, I've beaten the line pretty good on this one. I throw a unit on Azamat Murzakanov. I got it at -136, and I believe he's sitting at like -155, even higher on some books. So beat that line pretty good so far, and I'm thinking it might even go up further. Pretty high on Azamat here, and he's going to be the official pick. But yeah, anyway, follow me on Twitter if you guys don't already. I throw out a lot of early picks out there to beat the lines, and usually I'm pretty successful in beating the lines. Not 100% all the time, every time, but yeah, so far with the Twitter plays, I'm 4 for 4. Again, not all of them have beat the lines, but they are 4 for 4. So maybe something to check out. Mustache_MMA on Twitter. Anyway, yeah, moving up the card. We got Guido Cannetti versus Kris Muntino. Sorry, I did all these fights, my notes on all these fights out of order, so I'll be flipping back and forth on my notes. So I guess I'll start with Guido Cannetti. Doesn't have the best record really. 8-6. Honestly, both these fighters are pretty lackluster, if you will, in my opinion. Guido Cannetti, honestly, he's kind of like decently rounded everywhere. He's decent wrestling. His takedowns are actually pretty good, but he doesn't necessarily shoot all the time or shoot very often. Takedown defense is also pretty solid. Excuse me. He has decent top control as well. When he does get you down there in those favorable positions, it's difficult to get him off of you. He throws decent volume, decent stand up as well. He's tough. He's been finished all 6 of his losses, but he is tough. He shows durability. He's been rocked before, and he's kind of tried to come back and been able to fight through it. He doesn't necessarily just give up and fall. When he's hurt, he's hurt and he's out for the count. Or when he's getting choked out, it is under the chin, and he's going to sleep if he doesn't tap out in the next second. So tough guy. Also, he's really heavy volume on the leg kicks. There's a ton of leg kicks. Yeah, that's pretty much it on him. Again, both these guys not the greatest. Kris Muntino, again, he's not the best. He was essentially O'Malley's punching bag last time out, and that got him $75,000 bonus. So good for him. Low-level competition in his wins. His losses come from decent ones. O'Malley, and also UFC veteran, not UFC, another UFC fighter in Tony Gravely. So he's had those losses. Guido Cannetti, on the other hand, has also lost to some pretty favorable opponents. Chito Vera, Dana Banganer, I believe, and most recently was Mana Martinez, who's a pretty decent prospect in my opinion. But yeah, anyway, going back to Kris Muntino, his wins, though, the level of competition is pretty poor. Same with Guido, you could say. I believe he may have one decent win on his record. Sorry, I keep going back and forth. Kris Muntino, focusing on him now. He's also tough, but he's also been finished in all 4 of his losses, five of his losses. So again, we've seen him be able in that O'Malley fight to really take some damage. I believe he's never really been finished on the feet before. He's been finished with ground and pound a couple times. One guy got him in a triangle and kind of elbowed him to a TKO. And then he's been submitted a few times as well. And then, obviously the O'Malley fight, he was like 15 seconds from going the distance, but Herb Dean stepped in for whatever reason at the last 15 seconds to save him when he could have saved him probably minutes before that. Maybe in the second, in the third, and the first. He was just getting destroyed that whole fight. When he is on the ground, he can get taken down somewhat easily sometimes, but he can handle himself on the ground. He tends to be able to stay out of trouble a lot. He's active with trying to get submissions, throw a little bit of strikes here and there, and then his striking is also just pretty decent. I'm not sure how I feel about it, and his wrestling's okay as well. So, this was a tough one to call, but I think Guido Cannetti is probably my official pick here. I think Kris Moutinho's wins. The level of competition is just very, very poor. Now, Cannetti, same kind of thing, but I feel like I lean Cannetti a couple different categories. The wrestling for sure. If you can get Kris Moutinho down, Moutinho may gain a lot of control time down there. The striking either way, it's a push for me, maybe on the striking, and the grappling, maybe a push as well. Everything's really close. But for whatever reason, I like Guido Cannetti to get this one done. I'm even waiting for the books to come out and maybe to see the price on the fight goes the distance. I think that might be a really good play at probably plus money, because both these guys in their losses have never gone the distance in a loss. So we'll see what that price comes out. I'm definitely going to keep an eye on that and might hit it as soon as it comes out potentially. But we shall see. But yeah, official pick going to be Guido Cannetti. Moving up the card, we got Cody Brundage versus Dalcha Lungiambula. So start with Cody Brundage. He's got good wrestling for sure. He went up in his last fight against Nick Maximov, who had better wrestling, and he just got out wrestled. But Nick Maximov does have high level wrestling, I would say. Cody Brundage, he has good wrestling, so it makes sense that he was just outworked a little bit. Decent takedowns. He shows that sometimes he does maybe shoot from a little far too out, or it isn't the best with the doubles or the singles. So we'll see what happens in this fight if he tries to take it to the ground and shoot some takedowns. Good takedown defense, though. He was pretty successful in stopping Nick Maximov a couple times, so that's a pretty good win for him for sure. Decent striking. It's somewhat technical, not much power in my opinion. He has really good cardio. He's a wrestler. Usually these wrestlers are able to kind of grind out good cardio, long fights for a while. And he throws out decent volume. He does throw a lot of strikes out there. He does, constantly try to put a little bit of pressure and a little bit of pace on his opponents. Moving on to Dalcha. This dude's really big, really strong. Decent takedowns. It's more like power-based that I've seen. He does have a little bit of a judo background, so he has those judo throws, judo trips, stuff like that. Cardio's a little questionable. He's definitely good for the first round. Slows a little bit in the second, but is still solid. And then usually in the third, it definitely seems like that gas tank really kind of just fails on him. He's not necessarily gassed, but he just doesn't look as crisp as he does in the earlier rounds. Decent takedown defense, to be honest, but it hasn't really been tested. So it's interesting here to see what Cody Brundage can do. If Brundage wants to take this one to the ground, he could be successful, because Dalcha really hasn't faced too many good wrestlers, in my opinion. Generally, he comes out blazing in the first round as well, so it's definitely going to be important for Cody Brundage to be aware of that and make sure he avoids that punishment. And then Dalcha, when he does get you down, I did leave this out before, but he does pretty decent top control. He's a big, strong guy. He can just hold you down. Hard to get him off you. So I think official pick here, I'm going to go with Dalcha Lungiambula. The reason being, I definitely favor him in the striking department. I think he's going to be stronger. I think he's going to be able to stop some of those takedowns from Brundage. He's going to win the early rounds. He may even be able to put Cody Brundage out. So yeah, official picks here are going to be Dalcha, Lungiambula. Moving up the card, we get Sabina, Mazo, and Miranda Maverick. Miranda Maverick coming in on short notice here. I think about 2 weeks, maybe 3, so not very late notice, but not a full camp, if you will. Start with Sabina Mazo. She has very high volume. She is a striker. That is her pedigree, her known pedigree. Pretty good striker, high volume, constant pressure. She's got long reach as well. As you can see in this, she's got a 4.5-inch reach advantage, which is pretty solid. She's not the best at necessarily maintaining that distance, but she's still long and lengthy. She throws out a good jab there, and good kicks as well. Takedown defense is anywhere from okay to solid. I've seen her, I've seen her give up some bad takedowns before, and I've seen her stuff some takedowns before. So just call it okay. It's nothing special, but there have been some successful opponents who have definitely gotten those takedowns on her. And, that's probably going to be the path to victory here for Maverick for sure. Because Sabina Mazo, she is not great on her back or on the ground at all, really. She's pretty easy to hold down there. She doesn't really have the ability to get up. She doesn't have really submission threat on the bottom. It just takes her a while to get back to her feet. She can, limit the damage, if you will, and kind of hold her opponent, but, she shows not much skill down there. Back to her striking, it's really technical striking, but not really much power she puts behind those punches at all. She's just kind of throwing them out there and touching her opponent, if you will. She got really good cardio, but that's really all about it for Mazo. Moving on to Maverick here, she also has really good pace, really good pressure. Her takedowns are pretty good. They're solid takedowns, really. She also has really good top control. She's really good at closing the distance as well on the feet. She has decent technical striking, decent power. She has good striking defense, really, as well. Cardio's a little questionable, though. She does slow in the third, but she does show that she has, solid first and second round for sure. But official pick here going to be Miranda Maverick. I really think the wrestling and grappling is going to come into play heavy here. Maverick's going to be pretty heavy with the pressure on the wrestling, be able to take Mazo down probably pretty consistently. And when she does take her down, she's going to be able to hold her down there and get a lot of top control time. So yeah, official pick, Miranda Maverick. Moving up the card, we got Damon Jackson and Kirk. Kirk also coming in on short notice here. Again, I believe it's about 2 weeks notice he had. So again, not a full week, but not super short late notice. Let's see here. I am missing this. Okay, here we go. So we'll start with Damon Jackson. Really, really great grappler, great grappling abilities. But that's about it. That's all I see in Damon Jackson, to be honest. I mean, striking, not really that good at all, in my opinion. Striking defense isn't good. His wrestling is just totally okay. It's nothing special at all. Takedown defense, okay. Takedowns, okay. He is relentless with the takedowns. Reason being, he wants to use that grappling in every fight he ever has. He doesn't want to stand up on the feet because he's not good there. So he's relentless with those takedowns. So, even though he may only get like 1 of 20 takedowns, he's still shooting 20 takedowns. So obviously with that great grappling ability, he's definitely a big sub threat. He obviously wants to get us to the ground. He has really great cardio as well. He can put on a really high pace for 3 rounds, high wrestling, high grappling pace. Moving on to Kamuela Kirk. He's pretty good technical striking, and he's also got decent power behind it. Also, really good grappler in his own right, offensive and defensive. Wrestling is pretty good, pretty decent as well. His takedown defense is pretty solid. He's a sub threat as well with his grappling. He has a couple submission victories on his resume. He's pretty dangerous off his back as well. He does throw a lot of offense off his back in terms of strikes and submissions. And the takedowns himself are pretty decent here. This came out as a pick'em, and I was surprised. This was also a Twitter play. I ended up getting Kirk at minus 115. I'm not sure what it is now. I think it is like pretty much still at a pick'em price, but I haven't seen it yet. But that was another Twitter play, mustache_MMA. Go ahead and give it a follow. I put out a couple early plays for most of the cards. So yeah, go ahead and check that out. But official pick here is going to be Kamuela Kirk. I think he has a big edge in the striking, which is going to play huge here. I also think he has an edge in the wrestling. Damon Jackson, I think, has an edge in the grappling. But I do think Kamuela Kirk has the grappling abilities to subdue Damon Jackson's submissions, as well as being able to use the grappling well enough to be able to get this one back to the feet or keep himself safe. Official play is Kamuela Kirk. Moving up the card here. Sorry, guys. Don't know why it always does this. It's really frustrating. Can you just get out of the way? There we go. All right. Sorry, guys. Moving up the card, we got Trevin Jones and Javid Basharat. Scrolling over to my notes for them. Basharat coming off the Contender Series here. Really good performance. Undefeated fighter as well. He shows pretty good well-roundedness, but, seems to be mainly a grappler, a wrestler. Really heavy ground and pound, good top control. His cardio seems really good as well. He can put on a really high pace, on the ground and stuff with that heavy ground and pound, constant grappling, constant wrestling. Striking looks decent. I haven't seen enough of it to really be confident in it, though, however. And I did notice that he does really keep his hands low when he's fighting in his stance. So, that's definitely something that is going to be probably of importance in this fight for sure, because he's facing Trevin Jones now. Trevin Jones, he's known for his power. He's got one-shot power, and he's been able to prove that a couple times so far in the UFC, putting out a really good prospect in Timur Valiev, and then also knocking out Mario Batista as well. His last time out, he did lose to Saeed Yakub Kakramanov. Closest really fight up until he ended up getting submitted in the third round. But I'm interested to see if that one went the distance, to see who they would have gave it to, because it was a really close fight in my opinion. Anyway, Trevin Jones is super tough as well. He can take a lot of damage and he can fight through it. He's been hurt a couple times in this fight. He's been able to come back, recover, and even win in some cases. Questionable gas tank, though, especially when the grappling is pushed heavy in his fights. He showed that in his last fight against Saeed Yakub Kakramanov. Kakramanov consistently pushed the grappling. Trevin Jones did engage in the grappling and was offensive in the grappling at times as well, and offensive with the clinch game. But that proved to really drain his gas tank pretty significantly. His submission defense is decent. Again, he did get caught in a submission in his last time out. Good grappling, though, decent wrestling. The only thing about his striking that I don't really like too much is he just doesn't throw too much volume. He's really patient and, kind of looking for that one-punch shot. There's only so... You can only really do that so much until you eventually lose a fight, because you're not throwing enough volume. The fight eventually is going to go to the distance because you never landed that power shot, and you lose on the judge's scorecard because you don't throw enough volume. So I'm going to go with Javid Basharat as the official pick here. Even though he does keep those hands low, I think he's really going to engage in the grappling a lot here. I think that's going to drain on Trevin Jones' gas tank, on his power essentially as well. And I think Basharat is going to have good success in the grappling exchanges. If he does get Trevin down, I think it's going to be some trouble for Trevin. So official pick going to be Javid Basharat. Moving up the card, we got J.J. Aldrich versus Gillian Robertson. Again, another short notice replacement here. Gillian Robertson coming in on short notice. Again, I believe this one she had about 2 weeks. So, not super short notice, but still a short notice fight nonetheless. So going in the J.J. Aldrich, decent striking. Decent technicality with that as well. Not much power behind it, but she does have pretty good striking, decent striking. She closes the distance really well. Generally her opponents, maybe a couple fights I've seen where she did have a reach disadvantage, but she's actually going to have the advantage here in a pretty significant one in 4.5 inches. Takedown defense is okay, but she's shown good ability to get back to her feet. She's super tough. She has decent takedowns in her own right. She throws good volume. Grappling doesn't seem to be tested too much because, again, when she does get taken down, she does get back to her feet pretty quickly. So it'd be interesting to see if Gillian can actually get her down and use her grappling and see how the grappling defense holds up, or even potentially some grappling offense from J.J. Aldrich. Moving on to Gillian Robertson, great offensive grappling, really good offensive grappling. If she gets you down, it's a problem. Her striking is just okay. She's essentially zero power as well. She's good. She has really good top control with the grappling game as well, but sometimes she does rushes, transitions, or situations, or submissions, and loses her position, and has to start all over again, or goes back to the feet, which is even worse for her generally. Big sub threat, obviously, with those grappling skills. She's decent ground and pound when she sees the opportunity to lay in some elbows. Takedowns are okay. Her wrestling is just okay. I don't think it's anything special. I don't think it's really that good, to be honest. Striking defense, okay as well. She does seem to get kind of lit up on the feet at times. She's got good cardio, but she definitely slows in the third if the pace is pushed and, a lot of volume's coming at her, which is going to be the case. So official pick here, I'm going to go J.J. Aldrich. Gillian Robertson on short notice here. That could play a factor in her gas tank. I think J.J. Aldrich is going to have success in stuffing a majority of the takedowns. And if she does get taken down, I think she'll be able to get back to her feet quickly, keep this one on the feet for the majority of the fight, and, beat up Gillian Robertson to a decision. J.J. Aldrich, official prediction. Moving up the card, we got Matthew Semelsberger versus J.J. Aldrich. Matthew Semelsberger versus AJ Fletcher. This one I was really interested in because I saw the odds early on AJ Fletcher. He's about plus 200, so this was the first fight I dove into because I was thinking I may want to hit that because it's a pretty good price, but I ended up staying away from it, and you'll see why, and obviously a little bit of a foreshadowing of who I'm going to pick here. But AJ Fletcher, he's got really good movement, good in and out, good side to side, closes the distance pretty well. Really good takedowns so far from what I've seen. He's quick. He's got good timing on it. Good grappling as well. He transitions very smoothly on the ground. He looks for submissions when they're there, when he gets into those positions that he wants. Top control is questionable at times, though. It does seem that he does sometimes maybe rush those transitions or rush certain things, and that ends up, making him lose a favorable position or even losing the control altogether. On the feet, he also looks pretty good. He looks like he has decent power. He does seem susceptible to being hit. He's very explosive, very aggressive. I believe all of his finishes have come, or all of his wins have come by finish. Let's double check that. Okay, so all but one have come by finish. So, and a lot of those being first round finishes. He does have a couple third round finishes, which is interesting. So, maybe the gas tank is pretty decent, but as you can see here, level of competition hasn't been the best. The only really great fight or good fighter he's fought was on the Contender Series and Leonardo Diamante, and he did destroy him in pretty impressive fashion with that flying knee. But it'd be interesting to see how he goes against so far I believe a 3 or 4 fight veteran in the UFC in Matthew Semelsberger. Now we all know Semelsberger. He's got that power, man. He's got 2 knockouts within 15 seconds, I think, in the UFC. Really starching 2 guys quickly. To be fair, though, one is super duper chinny. I'm trying to remember his name. Jason Witt, super chinny, has been completely knocked out most of his career. And then Martin Sano didn't even really deserve to be in the UFC. So, although he did have 2 like sub 15-second knockouts, they're not from great level competition. So I shouldn't say he should be doing that, but he should be getting them knocked out in the first round for sure. Nevertheless, he still has power. A big factor in this one as well is, as you can see down low, he's a huge reach advantage here. 8 inches is going to be a problem for AJ Fletcher, I think, in closing the distance and potentially getting those takedowns. Semelsberger, though, the technical striking is okay, but the power is definitely there. He constantly tries to set up that big power shot to put your lights out. He's got a really good chin as well. He took a couple big shots from Chaos Williams a couple fights ago. And Chaos Williams also has some big power in the division. So, this guy's tough to put away. Semelsberger also has a wrestling background. He wrestled in high school. From what I've seen his wrestling hasn't been used very often in the UFC so far, but from what I've seen, the wrestling does look pretty quick, does look pretty decent. So, even if AJ Fletcher is able to close the distance, get a takedown, it'd be interesting to see how Semelsberger is, able to use his wrestling defense to counteract that. Semelsberger, I did see him, shoot a takedown before. He's really quick with that takedown, really a good timing and quick to get to the hips and pull it out and complete the takedown. Takedown defense, however, hasn't really been tested at all. I don't think anybody has really had the opportunity or even wanted to go for a takedown. So, again, it'll be interesting to see what happens here. But official pick is going to be Matthew Semelsberger. I see AJ Fletcher really having a hard time with that big reach disadvantage, closing the distance. I think Semelsberger is going to piece him up on the feet. AJ Fletcher eventually going to try and do some wrestling, and I don't think it's going to be as impressive or it's going to be as successful as his last fights or previous fights. And I think Semelsberger's going to get the win here. So official pick, Matthew Semelsberger. Moving up the card, we got Bruno Silva versus Alex Pereira, a freaking sick fight because both of these guys are deadly on the feet. Bruno Silva, I believe, having 19 KOs in his record. Alex Pereira, yes, being 4-1, but he has a ton of high-level kickboxing experience, and he was very, very good in that kickboxing experience as well. So, Alex Pereira here, he has huge power, super technical kickboxing. We've seen in his first UFC fight that when he does get taken to the ground, he doesn't necessarily panic. He does try to work his way up to the feet. He's takedown defense seems pretty decent. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Bruno Silva tries to take this one to the ground, even though he usually doesn't. But Alex Pereira, I think he has the power advantage. I think he has the technicality advantage on the, everything on the feet. Alex Pereira, I think, has the advantage. Bruno Silva, however, he also has big power in his hands. Like I said, 19 knockouts in his 22 wins. Cruising on a 5-fight win streak, could be even more. Let's double check. 1, 2, 7-fight win streak so far. He's fought a couple chinny guys in his opponent in his career so far. Andrew Sanchez actually was winning probably 2 rounds to none until he got the third round TKO. Wellington Turman starched him. Jordan Wright starched him. Jordan Wright did land a couple shots on him as well, though. But be interesting to see what happens here. Bruno Silva, though, he does have a black belt in jiu-jitsu, so he's never had a submission victory on his resume. But it'll be interesting here to see, he's going to know that Alex Pereira probably has the advantage in the striking. So maybe he's going to take it there. I don't know. It could be an ego thing, too, to just go out there and try to starch Alex Pereira. But I just don't think he's going to do it. I don't think he's going to have, trouble. I mean, even look at the reach disadvantage. Alex Pereira has, a 6-inch reach advantage on him. Alex Pereira also training with Glover Teixeira, probably working on that takedown defense and that, get up game. So, official pick here is going to be Alex Pereira. I think he's going to be too much on the striking. I think he's probably going to eventually put out Silva. Moving up the card, we got Drew Dober versus Terrence McKinney. Terrence McKinney coming back, man, on 2 weeks' notice about. Good for him. So short notice and again fought 2 weeks ago, so it'll be interesting to see, and against a really good competitor against Drew Dober. So if he can pull off the win here, it's going to be huge. It's going to bounce him right up the rankings, and after that, I would think he probably is going to get a ranked opponent if he can get the win here. So we'll see what happens. But Drew Dober, don't be sleeping on this guy. There's a reason why he's a favorite. He has really good pressure and pace that he puts on his opponents. He has really good technical striking. It's really composed, and he doesn't really necessarily get phased when people pressure him either, or do that. So McKinney is known as that pressure guy. So he doesn't fall under the pressure. Dober's got decent power in his hands as well. Good combos, good cardio as well. Decent wrestling, decent grappling. Takedown defense seems to be just okay. He's got a pretty good shin. He's pretty durable. But yeah, I don't know. Dober here in this spot, he's at a full camp. Terrence McKinney, he's fought 2 weeks ago. He didn't take a lot of damage 2 weeks ago, to be honest, but did fight 2 weeks ago still. He's coming in on short notice, not a full camp. I mean, we'll see what happens. I actually forgot to switch my notes over to McKinney, but, I'll go off the top of my head. I mean, McKinney, high pace, high pressure, always looking for a finish kind of guy. He does have pretty solid wrestling, solid grappling as well. As we saw last time out, he choked out Zaim Faraz, and it didn't even look like he had the right position to get the choke, but it was apparently tight enough for Faraz to tap out. So impressive that he got that. So he does have good grappling abilities, really good wrestling. His striking is good as well. It is a little wild at times, which he's not going to do against Dober. If he's too wild, Dober might be able to catch him coming in. Again, he does have high pace, high pressure, throws a lot of volume. This one's tough. It's close, I think. I saw the opening odds. Terrence McKinney was like plus 198, I saw at one point. I was very close to taking it. I decided not to do it, and I am regretting it a little bit because we are seeing the line come down pretty significantly, but I think Drew Dober should be the favorite here, to be honest. I don't know if he'll get the win, but I do think he should be the favorite. I do think he probably wins like 6 out of 10 times. So for that reason, I think I'm going to pick Drew Dober to get the win here. I like Terrence McKinney a lot, but I think Drew Dober gets the win here. McKinney probably needs a full camp to get a win over somebody like Dober. But, who knows? We'll see what happens. Moving up the card, we got Khalil Roundtree versus Carl Robertson. Khalil Roundtree, he's got really good power, decent volume. His accuracy isn't really the best, to be honest, though. Technicality and accuracy are just okay or decent, if you will. Excuse me. He throws a lot of heavy leg kicks too. His last time out, he got a TKO victory based on those leg kicks. Essentially, like twisted the dude's knee to the opposite side. It was pretty nasty. Cardio is a little questionable. He definitely slows down. Solid cardio for 2 rounds. Third round, not the best, especially if a pace is pushed on. If there's no pace pushed on, he may have decent success in the third round. He's never really going to take this one to the ground. I haven't seen him shoot a takedown in like his last 5 fights or even attempt one. He's decent takedown defense. He's a little bit hittable on the feet. And he does struggle with aggressive fighters or, high volume fighters. So, Jan Kutilaba finished him in the first, same with Johnny Walker. They're very aggressive fighters. And then he also lost more recently to, I believe, Marcin Prashio, and he puts on pretty high volume, high pace fights. So those are the types of fighters that he really struggles with. Moving on to Carl Robertson. Reason I say that, and I'll lead right into it, he doesn't throw a whole lot of volume. He has good striking defense. He's decent wrestling, decent grappling, but he doesn't really try to use the wrestling and the grappling all too often, try to go for it too much. His striking's decent. He's really good chin, really durable. He's never been KO'd. He usually fights at middleweight as well, so he's fighting at light heavyweight. He's fought at light heavyweight before, and he is a big middleweight, but again, he is coming up here. Khalil Roundtree, probably going to be the bigger of the two, the stronger of the two. Official pick here is going to be Khalil Roundtree again. Robertson doesn't throw much volume, and we've seen in most of Khalil Roundtree's losses that he struggles with either aggressive fighters or high-paced fighters. Carl Robertson isn't really either of the two. Now, I could see Robertson getting a win if he does complete some takedowns and get some ground control time, but I don't think it's going to happen. Carl Robertson doesn't go for takedowns very often. And again, Khalil Roundtree being the bigger guy, it may be more difficult for Robertson to complete those takedowns. So official pick going to be Khalil Robertson. Moving up the card, we got Alex Caceres versus Soquid Yusuf. So Soquid Yusuf, big, strong guy for the division, has good power, throws good volume, pretty technical on the feet. Takedown offense isn't really good. He's never even really landed a takedown before. Decent grappling, heavy ground and pound if he does get you to the ground somehow, though. And he is really tough. He's been shown that he can recover in fights before and stay into it. Alex Caceres, he's a bit of a weird, awkward striker, awkward in general in terms of his fight game. Keeps the range really good, lots of kicks, lots of in and out movement, really great grappling. Like I said, that awkward fighting style. He's really dangerous off his back, so it'd be surprising if Soquid Yusuf tries to take this one to the ground. Good striking defense because of that ability to keep the range really well and that good movement. Striking offense is really technical, but there's pretty much little power if there's any at all. Good cardio as well. He's able to keep up a good pace for all 3 rounds. Takedowns are good, but he just doesn't seem that he likes to go to the ground often, which is strange because he does have really good grappling. He does seem to, whenever they close the distance and get in that clinch game, he does maybe try to go for a takedown or even just try to take the back from standing and then be able to get a submission from there. He's done that a couple times in his career and been pretty impressive with it. So this one's a tough one. I mean, I think Alex Caceres is actually a pretty good dog here, especially for the price. But again, we're not factoring in odds here. I think I like Alex Caceres to win here. I mean, Soquid Yusuf, we haven't really seen his grappling too much. It's definitely decent. Alex Caceres has a big edge there. Alex Caceres really good at keeping his distance. Good from probably avoiding those big power shots. Now, his last fight, he did get hit by Sung Woo Choi early, and he did get hurt, but he was able to recover, and he came back and got the win. So he is tough. He can fight off those kind of those situations, if you will. And Sequid Yusuf, I mean, he does have good power, but I haven't seen him put out a good opponent before, I believe. I want to confirm that before I go with that statement. Gabriel Benitez, okay, that's decent. And then Suman Makaramov. Yeah, so only 2 finishes in the UFC so far, and 2 unanimous and 2 decision victories, and a loss coming to Arnold Allen. But yeah, give me Alex Caceres here. I think the grappling, if he does engage with the clinch game, or even do anything with some wrestling to try and get the takedown and eventually try to get the back, I think it's over. So I'm willing to take that risk on Caceres because I think there's a good chance of that happening. Moving up the card, we got Marlon Morales versus Song Yadong. Song Yadong, really good power, stand-up so good. Quick hands, quick kicks, great combos, great volume, good counters, good chin as well. Works the body really good. Solid striking defense. His takedown defense is pretty decent. It's definitely improving. Works at Team Alpha Male, and those guys have a lot of good wrestlers and work on their wrestling pretty consistently. Quick to get back up to the feet, really hard to control as well. We saw Kyler Phillips get a couple takedowns on Yong Sidong, but had zero ability to keep him down there at all. Didn't get any control time really whatsoever. He scrambles really well, as on top of that, struggles with opponents with movement though. Let's see who he fought to where he struggled with. I wonder why I put that down. Maybe it was Kyler Phillips who probably has it was Casey Kenny as well. Casey Kenny has that movement as well. That was really showing, even though he did get the victory, that was showing him a lot of trouble. As you can see here, he's faced a lot of great competition so far in his career. Cody Damon, Martin Vera, Kyler Phillips, Casey Kenny, Julio Arce. So yeah, it's not like he's been facing bad competition. He's definitely faced a lot of good competition. Marlon Morales, now going on to him, he's been super chinny recently. Really hittable on the feet. He does have good takedowns, and he does have also decent top control. He's also got really good striking and good power. It's not necessarily one-shot power, but, he lands with a good one. He's going to rock you hard, and he's going to try and finish you. Merab Dashvili, his last fight, he almost finished him in the first. Kind of gassed himself out going for the finish. But yeah, good, decent technical striking as well. Don't count him out just because he's been really chinny lately. He's been clocked by the best guys in the division. Rob Font, Corey Sandhagen. Now Dashvili, he's not much of a finisher in his own right. He's more of a decision machine. But Marlon Morales just kind of gassed himself out in that fight, to be honest, going for the finish in the first. So yeah, with all that said, I'm still going with Yong Sidong, Song Yadong, as the official prediction. And then main event here, we got Thiago Santos versus Magomed Ankalaev. Thiago Santos, big power in his hands. Really good striking defense as well. Good volume at times, but last fight he really didn't throw any volume at all. Maybe he just respected the power of Johnny Walker a little bit, but again, he barely kind of beat out Johnny Walker each round. And maybe that wasn't that good of a victory, as we've been seeing. Johnny Walker hasn't seemed the best lately. He's also very chinny. Thiago Santos never really tried to go in for that finish. Maybe because it was a 5-round fight as well, he really just didn't put anything on the pedal. But who knows? We'll see what happens in this fight. Good cardio as well. Decent takedown defense. Not a great ground game at all, though. If you get him to the ground, he does struggle to get back to the feet, or use his grappling to fend off any transitions, or let his opponent move into better positions. decent technical striking as well, but he mainly revolves around that power and tries to put people's lights out. Magomed Ankalaev, dude should essentially be undefeated. His only loss coming from Paul Craig, where Craig threw up a triangle in like the last 10 seconds and got in the tap with 1 second remaining. So pretty crazy, but essentially should be undefeated here. Really, really great striking defense. It seems like he is very difficult to hit on the feet. Good power as well. It's not incredible power, but it's pretty good power. He's able to drop guys. He's able to finish guys a couple times. Finish Kutilaba twice, and dropped Volkan Oezdemir his last time out as well. He's got a wide variety of attacks as well. Great kicks, great knees, great elbows. Great punches, a really, really solid, really great technical striking. He's the best technical striking in the division for sure. He works really, really good at range as well. That's where he works his best. He's able to, have that striking defense at range really, really great, and then also work off that and use his striking offense at range. Very, very good. Decent takedowns as well. If he wants to take to the ground, he probably does have the opportunity to do so here, and he probably will have success on the ground as well. Huge underdog or huge favorite for the reason, and obviously I'm picking Magomed Ankalaev as my official prediction. All right, thanks a lot, guys, for watching. Go ahead, hit the subscribe button and the like button if you like this video, and leave me any comments down below if you liked any of my breakdowns about the fighters. Leave me comments down below on who you have in the main event. You got Thiago Santos, you got Magomed Ankalaev, or any of the fights of that matter. I will have 2 more videos coming out later this week. Going to shoot for Thursday. Best bets and parlay plays, so look out for those. And then shout out to SteadyPicks.com and SteadyPicks Radio. Appreciate you guys having me on your platform and letting your viewers listen to my MMA spiels. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you later.